Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Primetime Carolina. I am your host, Tanner Blue, along with my co-host, Dave LaFave, and this is a historic podcast. And if you're wondering why, it's because for the first time in franchise history, the Panthers have finished 5-12. Completely historic. Will never be met. Will never be reached ever again. It's a great episode.
Hey, man, we've reached a new level of suckiness, so that's what's up. It's what we do.
Yeah, the Panthers season is over. To touch base a little bit, the last game of the season, which I actually watched the full game. First time I watched the game in about 2-3 weeks. It was, it's kind of like every other game that we played. Panthers, kind of keep it close in the beginning, showing some promise, and then come second half, it's just like it's a blowout city. Did some nice things, but at the end of the day, we're the Panthers. Not good enough to win that game there. Sam Darnold played, he played like Sam Darnold. Defense gave up a lot of points there at the end. Not like it really mattered, but the Bucs move on. They win the division yet again, and the Panthers lose what? What did we lose? Like 8 in a row there at the end of the season?
Yeah, I don't remember exactly how many it was, but my new favorite stat has come out, and that's Matt Rule being 0-7 against coaches who got fired. Well, actually, he's up to 1-7 because the Texans fired their coach today. So he's up to 1-7.
That is true. Yeah, I mean, we've got a lot to talk about here. We got some Panther news, some NFL news, and then we'll do our at the end of the season, we're going to start doing this, our MVP, our awards for the Panther season, the best, the worst, the in-between, whatever you want to call it. But we'll start with some NFL news in general. Dave, why don't you give us some of the Panthers coaches that got let go if you have it on deck?
Oh, I can get it on deck.
I think I know one of them was Chase Blackburn from special teams. He'd been there a couple seasons. Panthers special teams has not been – I can't tell you the last time we had a great special team. It's been a long time. I mean, it's something that kind of goes unnoticed, but – it just seems like we're always giving up block punts or big returns instead of us doing the same to the other team. So, I mean, I guess I can see that firing. I know we fired our offensive line coach. Don't know if it's a matter of coaching or if it's a matter of just having absolutely no one on the offensive line other than Taylor Moton. He gets cut as well. And then I think we got rid of another coach. I don't know the specifics of that without me looking at it.
All right, Panthers make changes to coaching staff. I mean, I saw this headline, and it didn't really mean anything to me. I mean, I saw the coaches who got fired, but at the end of the day, as long as Matt Rule's there, I still see it as all the same thing. And, I just see this as the same as Joe Brady, just someone else getting the blame tossed on them and thrown under the bus and kicked out the door. Like, obviously, there you go, Pat Meyer, offensive lines coach. Someone's got to take the heat for the offensive line being horrible, and obviously that was his position group, so he's the one who gets booted. But like we said before going into this season, Matt Rule knew the offensive line was going to be an issue and didn't address it. So here we are.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't really anything groundbreaking or anything that's make or break for the season. Just some interesting tidbits. It's always interesting to see which coaches get labeled as the scapegoats whenever. A lot of times it's a little bit higher up than that. So, the Panthers cut a couple guys there. It's not the end of the world. It is what it is. So they'll move on. I think the biggest thing going on now is they are in the search for the new offensive coordinator. There's been a bunch of names that have come out. I know Pep Hamilton is one. I did a little bit of research on him. They've also been looking for I think the Colts wide receiver coach, and then the Vikings offensive coordinator, who is the son of I can't remember who the coach's name was, but I mean there's a couple guys there. What are your thoughts and opinions on that? Anything that interests you or piques your interest? Or
yeah, so this article from Panthers Wire, don't know what that was. From Panthers Wire goes through and lists each candidate for the job. I guess these are guys who are being interviewed or have been interviewed or may be interviewed. But the first name that came up was Bill O'Brien. Him and Jay Gruden popped up almost immediately at the end of the season, which I don't know. What are your thoughts on these guys?
It's tough because Bill O'Brien is certainly somebody that's got a great deal of you know, he's got a lot of experience. He's got a lot of, he's been a couple places. Obviously, most people remember him whenever he was with the Texans. He was a solid coach, but he was an absolute garbage GM. So he wouldn't be put in this position. He's just someone that I think has a lot of baggage. But I don't think would necessarily be a terrible choice for offensive coordinator. But at the same time, maybe something that, he's got experience in the NFL. He might be able to help rule some, but I don't know. Just as an offensive coordinator, I think it would be fine. I'm looking at a guy like Jay Gruden. He's last seen as the head coach in Washington. He's done some nice things here and there. He's always been a little bit of a better offensive mind. That's okay with me. And then looking at, I think the best candidate I've seen so far for me has probably been Pep Hamilton. And I think he would be a nice addition. But at the end of the day, they could go on, they can hire, an offensive guru, someone, a great offensive coordinator, whatever they want to do. But at the end of the day, I don't know how confident I'm going to be with whoever they pick with Matt Rule still as the head coach. I don't know how much of a difference it's really going to make.
Well, I mean, we talked about it time and time again this season. Their biggest issue was no matter how much they preached it in, their post-game press conferences, was running the football. They just couldn't commit to it. They never became a physical team. And that's going to be the issue moving forward. And, like you said, as long as Matt Rule's in charge, I'm not sure the team's ever going to find that grittiness about them to step up and, move guys around and play hard-nosed football like you have to if you're going to be a physical running team. And I think, there's some candidates out there who just, could be head coaches for other teams that you would like to see the Panthers bring in for that situation. But that's really not, important right now because all we can talk about is this. What I will say, and I like Pep Hamilton as well, and I think the thought process with Pep Hamilton and Bill O'Brien is both of these guys have a relationship with Deshaun Watson. Both of them have worked with Deshaun Watson in the past. They both worked in Houston with Deshaun Watson. And I think the Panthers' thinking there is if they can get one or maybe even both of these guys in, it would give Deshaun Watson an incentive to waive his no-trade clause in the event that they were to make a trade for him. And, quite frankly, I don't think that that's done. I think there is still a strong possibility that that could happen. I saw a report, I think a couple of days ago, that said Miami was kind of losing interest for whatever reason. I don't remember the details of what I saw, but when all the dust settles, the Panthers are going to be right there with whoever's willing to make a trade. And, we'll see what the bidding war looks like. Obviously, we've already traded away a lot of draft picks, but we'll see what it looks like. But, yeah, these two guys, I think, are motivated by Dave Tepper wanting to get Deshaun Watson in the building.
I like that theory. My only concern is that if I'm Deshaun Watson, am I going to want to come to a team just because they have an offensive coordinator? Now, I mean, possibly, but, there's some other destinations that might be better, but at the same time, there's not going to be a lot of teams out there that are going to be willing to shovel out, what they might be asking for. And you look at a team like the Panthers who, I mean, they don't have a ton of draft capital to give. So realistically, it's probably going to be some players that they would have to give up in order to, to get something like this back, to get someone like him. So I don't know. I mean, it's interesting. Like you said, I don't disagree with them being out of the play for Deshaun Watson. I just don't know how I feel about it. Whatever they do, they need to make the decision based off on the fact that he will not be there, not in the fact that if we do this, we can get him.
Yeah, I mean, any trade is going to involve Christian McCaffrey, I'm sure, is, the first piece of a trade, but we'll see what happens. Pep Hamilton, yeah. Clint Kubiak, that's who you were thinking of before. Son of
Correct.
Gary Kubiak, I believe is his
Hmm.
name.
Yeah, I mean, Kubiak, the Vikings have had a very good offense the past couple seasons. Granted, they've had some weapons, but they've been well schemed and they've done some nice things. Also looking at I think it was the Rams offensive coordinator. That sounds nice, but it kind of reminds me of the Chiefs in a way because you don't know how much of it is Sean McVay and how much of it is his scheming and planning. So that's someone that interests me as well. I mean, there's some guys there. I'm glad that they're making the rounds and taking their time. I would expect us to have a decision probably at some point next week. I mean, usually the searches don't go on super long. So,
By the way, um, this guy here, Scotty Montgomery, who just popped up here a couple hours ago, to be interviewed as an ECU Pirate. I do not like this idea at all. This guy showed up as a high-profile NFL coach to ECU, and in 2 years had ran that program into the ground. So, I don't know. Just in my experience with this guy, I'm not a fan. But I'll just go ahead and throw that out there.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know if you had a chance to watch any of the final press conferences, for the season. Scott Fitterer was there, Matt Rule was there, some players were there. What I got out of that was I loved what I heard from Fitterer, and I've been a fan of his, even though the season hasn't gone on some of the trades, maybe not the best thing. I think that's more of hey, Matt Rule is making the decision. He's the GM. He's trying to get what the coach wants to succeed. They asked Fitterer about what he thought on Brady Christensen and his arm length, and he said that basically he's like, hey, this guy's got talent in other areas that can overcome those shortcomings. So I think he's going to be a good player. What's your thoughts on his thoughts on saying that and Matt Rule, kind of going completely against that the whole season?
I think even as the season went on, not as the season went on, but right there at the end of the season, when Brady Christensen got his opportunities and we saw that he could play, you saw Matt Rule instantly backtrack on everything he had been saying about his arm length. Suddenly it wasn't as much of a big deal as it was earlier in the season. But I'm glad you said that because it just reminded me of something that Matt Rule did say, which was equally as stupid. He was on Charlotte radio. I forget the station, I'm sorry, but he was talking about they asked him about Rashawn Slater and how they passed on Rashawn Slater and how Rashawn Slater had such a great year this year. And his response was actually they didn't pick him because he wasn't optimal tackle size or whatever. He wasn't ideal tackle size. So still, apparently, even when you make a Pro Bowl at a position and you're as good as anybody in the league, if you don't have the right measurements for Matt Rule, it's not going to work out.
I mean, that's just like F level talent evaluation because going into the draft, I knew there were two top tier left tackles. I'm just a guy that reads articles online. I don't scout. I don't do shit. There was Penei Sewell, and then the other guy was Rashawn Slater. That's it. I feel like it's not a hard thing to really digest there. And as far as being optimal for size, I mean, the guy, he's a pretty good size. He's a beast. I like the J.C. Horn pick, so I don't regret that pick at all. Would I have liked the left tackle? Yeah, but that it's just more of the same, man. It's hard for me to get excited about who's going to be the new OC and what we're going to do this offseason when we still have the giant elephant in the room that no matter what we do, it's likely not going to help.
We have so many deficiencies. I think that J.C. Horn's going to have a real hard time feeling comfortable in Bank of America Stadium because as good of a player as he is, and I think he's going to be, and I think he will be, and I mean, all that, as long as we're allowing sacks off the blind side, everyone is going to say, why don't we draft a tackle? But, there's another draft coming around the corner. They come every year. So I think, I don't know. It's so tough to look at these Panthers, man. When this offensive line gets fixed, maybe we'll be more optimistic, with a new offensive line, a new offensive coordinator. And I honestly do get like what they're talking about when they say Sam Darnold flashes and makes, elite level plays, because he does. It's just everything he does in between it that's so horrible that, you can't have him as your quarterback for that reason. So, I
Right.
mean, I get what Matt Rule is saying a lot of times when he, talks about Sam Darnold, but at the same time, you can't just ignore the fact that he's bad the rest of the time, and you can't ignore the fact that you gave up a second round and a fourth round pick to get him.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, yeah, I don't think anyone's denying. I mean, we said this, before he even got traded here, and we were talking about it. And then whenever he did that, there's no doubt he shows flashes of making elite level throws and elite, playmaking ability. There's no doubt. But this isn't a game of flashes. This is a game of what you can do. And over the span of a season, we see the flashes, but we also see a lot of the negative. And that's just something that at this point in his career, I don't think it's going to be something that is going to be fixed in terms of being a franchise quarterback. They asked in this press conference about, what they thought about Sam paying him that contract. And I mean, Rule was correct in saying that, $18 million a year is lower tier starter money. And then he kind of stumbled and bumbled his words and kind of looked like he basically knew that, hey, I messed up.
Yeah, I saw that clip. It was pretty hard to watch.
I've seen it so many times.
It's like, I mean, we haven't even made it to the offseason yet, so there's a long way to go between here and, 2022. But we're going to have to find a way to be a little more optimistic again, because, it's been real hard here lately. But
being a Panthers fan and being an optimist is not a good combo. It's always better to be a pessimist when you're a Panthers fan.
That's really how it is. And, some people will question your fanhood for it, but it's like, dude, I just been doing this for too long. I've been putting too much into this. I know how it ends up.
Yeah, people will say you're bitter, you're not a good fan. It's like, no, man, it has nothing to do with that. After a while, it's only so much you can take before you just, you don't really give a shit anymore. Looking at some guys that are free agents, guys might be coming back. Obviously, we re-signed PJ Walker. I saw a lot of people online were really upset about that. I don't know why. I mean, I think they know that PJ Walker's not the answer. So, I mean, he's just a guy that's there. He knows the system. I don't think there's anything terribly wrong with that. I'm sure they didn't pay him a ton of money. And then that's kind of it. They really didn't bring anyone else back yet. I know free agency hasn't officially started. You're looking at guys like Stephon Gilmore, Hassan Reddick, a couple of those guys, not Deshaun Jackson. What's his name? 26, cornerback.
Deshaun Jackson. Dante Jackson, sorry.
Dante Jackson. Sorry, couldn't remember his name for a second. A couple of guys like that, they're going to be available. If you had to pick one guy out of the big three, who are you picking, you think?
I mean, Hassan Reddick is priority number one, in my opinion, obviously. I mean, I don't even think it's close.
I would agree with you. I think for a lot of portion of the season, people have been like banging the tables. We have to bring back Stephon Gilmore. Listen, I like Stephon Gilmore a lot. I think he's a good player. But corner is a position that luckily we have a luxury of having a lot of talent, a lot of pieces there. I think people were getting on Hassan Reddick for not being, him and Burns being kind of the same player, not really getting strength in the run. I think that's something that can be fixed through coaching and scheming. I mean, they're not the biggest guys, but when you got a guy like that can get the pressure that he did and not make the Pro Bowl this year, which is the Pro Bowl, so who cares? But he was a beast this year, man. He was, I think for number one, he's my number one as well in terms of being brought back.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't have the list on me right now for the Panthers unrestricted free agents, but I mean, there weren't a lot of names. I haven't seen it in a couple days, so I don't remember really off the top of my head, but there wasn't a lot of names that really jumped off to me as guys like we had to bring back. I just remember, those two guys really jumped off to me. to me, Dante Jackson's going to command more money than I would be willing to give up to keep him. And you know how we are about Dante Jackson around here. And he had a real hot start to this year, but he kind of faded away as the season went off and ultimately ended up not even finishing the season. So,
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any way in hell that you can justify bringing him back over Stephon Gilmore if they chose to go with a cornerback. So, yeah, that's my opinion. I think he'll go somewhere else. He'll get paid. I mean, he's not a bad player, but he's not, it's at a position we have a luxury at right now. It's just someone that I just don't think we can afford to pay, the kind of money that he's going to want. Something against him, just, kind of how the dice rolls. Another guy is the great Cam Newton, one of the greatest Panthers of all time. I think there is a certain degree of thinking that he will not be back next season. You've got a list of guys here. I mean, there's a bunch of guys. We'll start at the top of the list here. We'll get down to it. I mean, Amir Abdullah, I'd love to have him back. I thought he was a very good player down the stretch. He does a little bit of things here and there. He can run the ball well. He can catch it. He's kick return, punt return. I liked him a lot. I wouldn't mind bringing him back.
Yep, absolutely.
Justin Burris, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think he played a ton this year, and he was out for a little bit. I mean, he's a guy. I mean, he's not terrible. He's not great. I wouldn't mind re-signing him for depth, but I think there's people they could find that's better. You look at a guy like Jermaine Carter Jr., who a lot of people were on his hype train this year. He did okay, but I think there's room for improvement. I wouldn't mind bringing him back, but now that he's been a starter, he's probably going to want starter money. Sean Chandler, another guy that was, okay. He was a little bit of a backup, played a little bit. Stephon Gilmore, we talked about. Zane Gonzalez, they definitely got to bring this man back. He was our best kicker we've had since Gano.
Dude, there's our MVP right there.
That's our MVP. You look at a guy like Daquan Jones. I think they can move on from him. I think, there's another veteran they might could bring in or rely on some of those young guys. I like Frankie Louvu. I thought he did a nice job this year coming in and playing, being a backup, doing special teams. I like him a lot. Rashawn Melvin, I think it's okay if we move on from him. John Miller, offensive line, probably going to move on. Cam Newton, we'll talk about him last. Matt Paradis, he's gone. Hassan Reddick, I'm in for him. Trent Scott, he's out. Julian Stanford, maybe is a body. Ian Thomas was I was a big Ian Thomas fan for a long time, but nothing ever happened. And I think this is the end of the road here in Carolina for him. And then Brandon Zylstra, I think he'll be back just because he's a decent player, probably your fifth or sixth receiver. And, he's a vet that knows the playbook.
Yeah, I agree with most of what you said. Not a ton of names jump out. Abdullah, yes, keep him. Gilmore, bring him back if you can. Keep Gonzalez. Did you say keep Marquise Haynes?
I saw that he had got released, actually. They weren't going to bring him back. Oh. So I didn't like that at all. I mean, I know he's a little bit on the older side, but at the same time, he's a rotational piece guy that can get sacks. I mean, maybe they'll bring him back later on down the road, like they've done with guys before. But I just thought he was, a guy you could bring back.
Yeah, and then Louvu and Reddick. Stanford, he can come back. I like Stanford. Yeah. I actually would bring Ian Thomas back. I know he's been kind of a disappointment, but, I think he's really improved as a blocker. Just as an all-around tight end, I don't think he's horrible. So, I mean, I don't think you hurt your team by bringing him back.
I don't think he should be the starter. I think that Trimble did enough this year he's still got a lot to improve upon, but he did enough this year to make me more confident about him. But I wouldn't mind Ian Thomas. He certainly has improved as a blocker, so you always need room for that.
Yeah, that's kind of the way I look at it as well. I think I've thought for a while now he's been getting too many snaps, but I don't think that means he shouldn't be on the team. Mm-hmm. I just think, he sees the field more than he should. And then, I would bring Zylstra back as well. He's been a pleasant surprise since he joined the team a couple of years ago.
Cam Newton, what's going to happen?
I mean, it doesn't sound like he's coming back. It doesn't even sound like he wants to come back. So we'll see what happens. It would be cool. I mean, it'd be good to see him back. I'd rather, if we're going to run it back for 1 year, I'd rather have him than, Sam Darnold. But the way this thing is going, next year is probably going to be, hard to watch. So, we might as well just let Cam go find something better for Cam and, let us suck it out for one more year with Sam Darnold.
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way. I feel like they need to bring in a veteran to compete with Sam Darnold that's not named P.J. Walker. I think Cam is that guy. But, give the guy a chance to compete behind offensive line. But as far as, him looking elsewhere, I don't know if there's a ton of room for him. I mean, there's a lot of things that I like he still has, but there's a lot of things that he does that, it's tough to watch sometimes in terms of throwing the football. He just is not that guy anymore, even though I still love him. I could see him maybe coming back. Maybe. I don't think so. But I really think if he doesn't come back to Carolina, I think this is it. I don't know what other team – I mean, he might could go to a team and be a backup, and if that's what he wants to do, that's fine. But for me, Cam Newton is he's not a backup. He either is a superstar or he's just not going to play. And I like to remember him in terms of being a superstar. Not saying that he doesn't have the right to play, but that's just my opinion. I think he's got a lot of good things going for him outside of football. He's good at creating content on YouTube. He's got his own fashion line. He's got his own personality. He won't have anything to worry about in terms of that. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I could see him walking into a situation like Pittsburgh with Ben Roethlisberger on the way out. If he came in there, you assume they're going to draft somebody. He could work with a young quarterback kind of like he did in New England. Obviously, they ended up going with Mac Jones. And, Mac Jones has been a good player, but it's just been tough to watch Cam not be able to find, a good situation because we kind of, ran him into the dirt in his years here and then never gave him a good situation, in his last few years and then just kind of kicked him to the curb and he had nowhere to go. So it's been kind of hard to watch that as a Panthers fan and someone, who watched Cam carry the team for so many years. But, I guess that's just how the NFL is, man. It's brutal sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. It's certainly, the years that he was amazing and great, they didn't put the best team around him. And then, when they started over, they kind of kicked him to the curb and then they brought him back. I mean, granted it was a last-ditch effort, but no one's going to survive behind this offensive line. I don't care who you are. And I think it made him look a little bit worse than he actually is just because of the fact that, the team was bad. The receivers weren't playing well. Offensive line wasn't playing well. He's got different coordinators. He's getting put in every 2 plays to run the ball. I mean, it's just, it's a situation where they needed to either say yes or no because we know what Sam Darnold is. I know Matt Rule picked him. He traded for him. He thinks this and that. Well, he doesn't know shit. All right. So he's not the guy. So you either need to pick what you're going to do. Are you going to roll with this guy or you're not going to roll with this guy? And whatever they need to do next season, whatever they do, make that choice and stick with it because we're either going to suck or we're going to suck more. And, hey, we got to live with it, man.
It really makes you look back and wonder why we wouldn't have just given up a 6th-rounder for Gardner Minshew, which is something that you and I talked about on this podcast at one point.
Yeah.
And I think we both agreed that would have been better than trading for Sam Darnold. And little did we know we'd be giving up, more than a 2nd-round pick for Sam Darnold. We thought if we traded for Sam Darnold, it would probably be about a 4th-round pick. And it ended up being that and then some. So,
hey, shout out to the Jets, straight finessing us. Good luck in your draft next year.
I'm telling you.
But, yeah, I mean, Minshew, the games he's played, he's looked about better than Sam Darnold in every game. And it came at a fraction of the cost.
Sam Darnold's biggest thing is he gets so shook, and he's always like the deer in the headlights. And Gardner Minshew's not that way. He's just a badass dude, and like you hit him in the mouth, he's going to hit you right back. And Sam Darnold's just not like that. You hit him a couple times, he's going to roll over and die.
I thought that was a good line. I mean, it's true. I mean, there's no like there's no bark or no like come. I mean, with Jake, it was like, I mean, Jake, he played like shit, but he would get fired up. He would be
And
be
that's a good
crazy.
comparison to Garner Minshew. Just kind
He
of
would,
going out there and just playing football, you know?
and
And
he would.
in
Jake,
my opinion, I always thought he was good. You know, I went to that Jaguars game in Charlotte. He was tearing us up, you know? I never really I mean, I understand why the Jaguars gave up on him because, you know, Trevor Lawrence was right in front of him, but I just felt like I didn't get why the whole league just kind of turned their back on him all of a sudden because he had a couple rough games at the end, you know, of his season as a young player. I thought for most of his career, he's been a good quarterback. He's been, you know, he's at least fun to watch, you know. So,
yeah. I mean, well, if you think about it, you know, I don't imagine he would be in Philadelphia next year because Jalen Hurts is their guy. Now that we know that.
no, and I think us trading for him, you know, this offseason is definitely, you know, a possibility. But,
Yeah.
you know,
I
like I
mean, it's
said,
something
we
that
should have
I
done it a
wouldn't
year
mind.
ago. Yeah, I
Yeah.
wouldn't
I
either.
mean, it's something that I wouldn't mind at all. Something they could have did, you know, last year and we'd be in a different position. But, you know, it is what it is. I'm
But did
okay
we
if
talk
they
about
bring in a guy.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm just saying I'm okay if they bring in a guy like him or a guy like Tyrod Taylor to complete, you know, a vet or just somebody. Like I'm
Yeah.
okay with that. I know that's the direction we're heading, but it's just frustrating whenever we've had to go through so many loops and jumps to kind of get to the same position we were in whenever we had Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah, and then, you know, I think this year we're certainly going to bring in somebody to compete with Sam Darnold. I think Garner Minshew is definitely, you know, could be that guy. But it puts us in a rough position because, well, it really puts him in another rough position because it's kind of the same thing as when he was with the Jaguars. He can come in and play fine, but it doesn't really matter because in 2023, the chances of us going after a quarterback early in the draft are very high, you know? So it's tough for him. It's, you know, it's probably gonna be tough for us to watch because if you have two quarterbacks, you don't have one quarterback. And next year there's a good chance we're gonna have two quarterbacks.
That is true. Welcome to it, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, the playoffs are starting this weekend. Panthers are obviously not playing, but that's okay. I'm still going to watch. There's there's a bunch of good games on. I'm excited about. I want to take a look at the schedule. We'll give our thoughts just because Panthers aren't playing, but we still do enjoy our NFL and everything else that's going on. Pull up the schedule here and see what we got. Okay. So we got Super Wildcard Weekend Saturday. The first game is the Raiders at the Bengals. I'm on the Bengals bandwagon. I love Joe Burrow. He's a man. I think he's done great. And this will be the first time that Cincinnati's won a playoff game in 31 years if they do. I like the Raiders too, but I like the Bengals at home.
Yeah, I'm big on this Bengals bandwagon too. And Jamar Chase is just a freaking monster, dude. I am a huge fan of his. And I really wasn't coming into the season, but he has made me a fan. That guy is awesome.
Remember when he sucked in the preseason?
Yeah, I do remember when he sucked in the preseason. And that's what made me not draft him in fantasy too.
Same, I did pass on him as well. But
and I paid the price for it because he turned out to be a beast. He reminds me – I know their measurables aren't super similar, but the way he plays reminds me of Terrell Owens, just the breakaway speed he has, just a big, strong athlete when he's running with the ball. Just reminds me of Terrell Owens, his running style.
Absolutely. So, yeah, give me the Bengals. I think that's what you're saying too.
Yeah, I'll take the Bengals.
Okay. The next game, this is a divisional game. This is a tough one. We get the Patriots at the Bills. I'm going to go with the Bills, and I think that's just because they're playing at home, and I think they just have a little bit more offensive firepower than the Patriots do. Patriots are very, very good on defense. I think Mac Jones, he's still a little green, a little young, might make some mistakes here and there. I just think the Bills are the better overall team. I could be wrong with the Patriots. They prove people wrong all the time. So give me the Bills.
Ever since the Patriots had parted ways with Cam Newton, I've been a Patriot. I've gone back to being a Patriot hater, which is good because that's the way I like to live my life. It just feels right, makes me feel warm inside. It just, it's the way things should be. Me and hating the Patriots just go together. With that being said, I think I'm going to go with the Patriots here. I'm hoping we get some playoff Josh Allen out there, throwing some laterals when he's already scrambled for 20 yards. And, that's the type of football I like to see. But I don't know. I just got a feeling about this one. I'm going to go with the Patriots.
Go with the Patriots. Either way, it's going to be a really good game. Going to Sunday, we got a bunch of games. Looking at the Eagles and Bucks, I think this is going to be a better game than people expect. The Bucks are down quite a bit on receivers. No Chris Godwin. They've got no Antonio Brown because he just got to the game and left. And they've got a bunch of injuries in other places. But at the end of the day, I did just recently watch the Cowboys and the Eagles game. I know both teams had some people out that weren't playing, but, I still think the Bucks are the better team. I don't see them losing at home to the Eagles. Give me the Bucks.
I'll take the Bucks as well, but I agree with you. I think it'll be a good game. And I think the Bucks are probably going to be knocked out in the second round. I don't see them getting back to the NFC Championship game, and Tom Brady will probably make me look stupid for saying that. But I'm going to go with the Bucks in this one. The Eagles have already overachieved this season, and it's going to be tough to go into Tampa Bay and win. So yeah, we'll take the Bucks on this one. Overall, just a better team.
I think so as well. Now, this game here, God knows I hate the damn Cowboys, but this has got classic written all over it. I mean, this is the 90s, like, in a nutshell. 49ers at Cowboys. I'm gonna go with the 49ers here. I think that Dallas is a very good team. I hate saying that, but they're a very good team. I like what they do on offense. They're getting a lot better on defense. Sometimes I just cannot get past the Cowboys being the Cowboys sometimes when it matters the most. I like Dak Prescott a lot. He's proved me wrong. I think he's a fantastic player. The 49ers are a little bit more experienced. I think they have a better defense, and, their offense is heating up at the right time. I'm not the biggest Jimmy Garoppolo fan. He might be in Carolina next year. I don't know. But I just feel like the 49ers are the better team. I'm going to go the upset here. I'm going 49ers.
Yeah, I'm big on the 49ers too. Lately the Cowboys have been playing their best ball anyway. I've been big, even when the 49ers were struggling, I feel like, we always knew they were a good team. They've got offense, they've got defense. Honestly, to me, the only question on that team really is Jimmy Garoppolo. I think the rest of the team is real solid, and, they've got playmakers on offense, with Deebo Samuel. I just think they have enough to make a run here in the playoffs. So give me them over the Cowboys for sure.
All right. So we're both going 49ers over the Cowboys. Next game, we got the Steelers at the Chiefs. Big Ben's the last hurrah here with the Steelers, maybe in his whole time in general. I think this is going to be a really close game, a lot closer than people think. I think there's no way Big Ben's going out like a scrub. Kansas City, I know they beat him up pretty good last time. I think this is going to be a closer game. I still think the Chiefs are the better team, so I'm going to pick them, but I think this is going to be a closer game than people think.
Yeah, give me the Chiefs. I'm not gonna agree with you on it being close. I don't think it'll be close. I think the Chiefs win by at least 2 touchdowns.
Hot take.
Totally.
Cardinals at Rams. To me, this is an easy one. I think the Rams are by far the better team. I like the Cardinals. I like their coaching staff, their young staff. I love Kyler Murray. I think he's an absolute baller. I like some of the talent they've got on the defensive side of the ball. The receivers stepped up with Hopkins being out. I just think the Rams are at home. They're too good. They're too good. I got to go with the Rams.
I agree with you. I'm going to go with the Rams as well. Anything can happen when you're talking about a divisional game, especially, in January. But I'm going to go with the Rams as well. I think they're, as long as they play their game, I think they're just about as good as anybody. My question to you is, how does the NFL justify putting a game on Monday night? Doesn't that put whichever team wins this game at a huge disadvantage?
I didn't think about that until now. I guess they would have to schedule that team later on in the next weekend, because you couldn't have a team play on Monday and then have them play on Saturday. I mean, you can, but I'd be pissed.
Right.
I don't know how it's going to work out. That's a good question. I like the changeup they've done here, but that's a good question. I haven't thought about that.
Yeah, I mean, I it's cool, obviously, for us as the fans. We get another Monday night game, but it just, like I said, it seems like whoever wins this game has one less day to prepare than whoever they play.
Correct.
What
I
if
don't even
they
know.
– is it possible? No, those games are AFC games. I was going to say if they played a team that played on Saturday, but the NFC games are on Sunday, so they won't play a team that played on Saturday, but even still, whoever they play is going to have had another day off.
Yeah, I don't know how to justify that. There might be some that we don't know. I'm not sure, but I will say this. I don't know if I'll be able to watch that whole game because it's a Monday. I'll probably fall asleep at like the first quarter, and I'll wake up and be like, oh, my God, it was the greatest game. That seems to happen this year. Ever since, I became an adult and I started going to bed at a reasonable time, every time I wake up, the game I miss is like amazing. Like the national championship, I watched the first half.
Yeah.
It was 9-6. I wake up, it's like 33-18. I'm like, what did I miss?
Yeah, it was a great game. Yeah, so I guess if the 2 and 3 seeds win, they would play each other. So that makes it a little bit better. But, if you get an upset there, then suddenly you're back in the same boat where you could have a team getting one less day to prepare. But anyway, I guess that's it for Wildcard Weekend. There's the divisional round. Cool.
That will be it. Forgot the Titans and the Packers are off bye weeks. So we'll see what happens there. I think we pretty much agreed on everything for the most part. Getting down to the last segment of the show here, we're going to do our superlatives, our primetime Carolina superlatives, where we're reaching out to the best, the worst, the in-between of the Panthers season. We talked about this a little bit earlier today whenever we were texting. We don't know what each other is going to say. We haven't discussed any of the picks, so we'll see how it goes. Dave, we'll start with you. Your MVP, your primetime Carolina MVP for this season is?
The 2021 primetime Carolina MVP for me, not you. I just went with DJ Moore. DJ Moore. I say this because there was not a lot of competition. DJ Moore was not, super outstanding, but our team was horrible, so there weren't a lot of players that stood out. But he put together his third straight 1,000-yard season, so that's a big deal. I'm not sure that any player has done that in our history other than Steve Smith. So that's he's joining great company. I know it's Steve Smith. I'm not sure if there's any other guys he joined, but I know if there are, it's not a lot. So he's joining elite Panthers company with that stat right there. And I think when it came to a guy who we could consistently look to for a play, he's pretty much the closest thing we had, especially with Christian McCaffrey out. So DJ Moore.
I think that's a great pick. And I just want to add that I feel like a lot of people have been down on DJ Moore this year. Yeah, he had some games where he had some drops and, maybe missed a play or two here and there. Didn't maybe run the best routes. But at the end of the day, dude, this guy's a baller. I think a lot of people would take him for granted if he was gone. People saying, trade DJ Moore. We don't need him. I'm like, who else are we going to trade to get to get for this guy? I mean, I think he's a stud. I don't think he's reached the level that he can reach, but he's still pretty damn good. And just think about it. Ever since he's been in the league, he has not had consistent quarterback play ever. He got at the very tail end of Cam Newton's career when he was kind of tailing off. And then he had Teddy Bridgewater, who'd never passed on the ball. He had Sam Darnold. The beginning of the season, he was having a career year. He ended up with another 1,000-yard season. I think he's a lot better than people give him credit for. And it kind of rubs me the wrong way because he's a low-key guy. He just keeps to himself. He just goes out there and plays, doesn't say anything. And I think he's a better player than people give him credit for.
Yeah, good player. Good player.
My primetime Carolina MVP this season, can't believe I'm saying this, it's going to be Shaq Thompson. I have been critical of Shaq ever since he first burst on the scene. I thought he was a good pick. Thought he was for a while overrated. He was okay. He missed some plays here and there that I thought he could have made. This season, if he can continue what he did this season, he was a complete beast when he was healthy. He had a 100 tackle season. I think it's the first one he's had so far. And he just, for a league now that really doesn't predicate on a lot of big hits, this man laid the wood this year on some people, and he made some damn good plays. And it made me excited to see defensive football. He kind of tailed off at the end of the year. I know he was hurt there a little bit, but I think he was a damn good player, and he certainly earned that contract that he got if he can continue to play like the way he did.
Absolutely. I think both of those guys we just named, I still believe are – I'm not going to say disappointing, but I just don't think they're franchise pillar type players. But I think they're both good players that, offer a lot to a team when they're on it. So –
yeah, I mean, I think
glad
both
to have
guys
them overall.
Yeah, I mean, I think both guys aren't, franchise centerpieces, but they're damn good guys, and I'd like to have them instead of not having them. So I will take that. Dave, your primetime Carolina offensive player of the year goes to?
This one kind of hurts because it's like we didn't have a lot of great candidates and I already gave MVP to the only guy that made sense. But I'm going to go with Amir Abdullah.
Ooh.
I think he stepped up and filled the void for Christian McCaffrey better than anyone else. I'm looking at you, Chuba Hubbard. This guy could catch the ball. He's so shifty and quick in space. I love the way he runs. I would love to see him back on the team next year. I think he deserved to carry more of the load than he got the opportunity to do. And I think if he did, we would have been better offense overall. And I know I'm kind of hard on Chuba Hubbard around here, but I'm going to go with Amir Abdullah. Again, it's kind of sad that there wasn't any more, obvious choices out there, but there just really wasn't. So I'm going to go with Amir Abdullah just to make sure he gets the shout out he deserves for the effort he put into this terrible team this season.
I tell you what, this pick here is going to piss you off. Give me Chuba Hubbard, my rookie of the year. I think, he wasn't amazing, but when you're replacing the best running back in football and you can come in and play well, he made some mistakes, but as the season went on, he really played well, had a couple 100-yard games and was able to, get more comfortable as the season went on and was really running hard. And I think that's something that is important because you're looking at a guy like McCaffrey who's an all-star, but he's hurt quite frequently. You start to look at other teams, it's a running back by committee, and that's something the Panthers may be headed to if they decide to get rid of Christian McCaffrey this season. So I think Chuba can be a very, very good, solid back for a couple years. And, he might not be Christian McCaffrey, but I think he's a good player. I think he's going to get better. I know people were hard on him at some points this year. I'm looking at you, Dave, but I like some of the stuff he did. So I'm going to go with Chuba Hubbard as my rookie of the year.
I thought we were doing offensive player of the year.
Okay, we can. Oh wait, yeah, offensive player of the year. Sorry.
So is he both?
I don't know. So we've got our MVP. Okay. We've got our offensive player of the year. Dave, who is your primetime Carolina defensive player of the year?
None other than Hassan Reddick. Seems like a pretty good choice. Double-digit sacks, burst onto the scene. Should have been a Pro Bowler. Little disappointing in the run game at times. Kind of, fell off a little bit at the end of the year. But I think overall he had an outstanding season, and I would love to see him come back next year.
Absolutely. For my defensive player of the year, I'm going to get maybe some heat for this because this is my guy. I'm going with Brian Burns. I think at the beginning of the season, he was red hot. You know, he had like 4 sacks in 3 games. He looked like the guy that we thought he was going to be. As the season went on, you know, had a couple bad games, missed some tackles. People were getting on him for not going for strip sacks or for going for strip sacks instead of making the actual tackle.
Right.
You know, I think that's valid criticism. But I do think that he deserved to make the Pro Bowl this year. I think he's a guy that's a young guy that's got a lot of talent. He's still flashing. He kind of reminds me of DJ Moore. He might not be exactly what we think he can be, but I still think he could be a damn good player. And I keep seeing people saying that we should trade him, we should get rid of him. I just don't know what you're going to get in return for him unless it's a top flight first-round pick. I just don't see that happening. I think he's better than people warrant, and I think he's going to be deserving of a contract whenever his time has come for as long as it's nothing crazy. But Burns is a guy I like. He goes out there, he does his thing, and I just think he's going to get better during the offseason. I think so.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me say I love Brian Burns. I do. With that being said, my most disappointing player of the year award goes to Brian Burns. Thank you for the segue, Tanner.
And that was perfectly set up.
This is not necessarily a Brian Burns problem. My expectations were just very, very high for Brian Burns this year. I thought for sure we would come out of this season talking about him as being a top 5 edge rusher in the NFL. I thought he was going to dominate. I thought he would have at least 15 sacks this year. And he came pretty close. What do you have, 10? You know, the only Panther –
12 or 12 and a half maybe?
The only Panther who made the Pro Bowl. But the consistency wasn't there. You know, he would show up for a couple plays a game, and the rest of the time it just felt like he wasn't on the field. He wasn't consistently a disruptor. He wasn't a consistent game wrecker like I thought he was going to be. So, again, it's not really his fault. He statistically had a good year. He's a very good player. I still love the guy. But that being said, for me, this year was disappointing. And for that reason, I'm going to have to go with Brian Burns for my most disappointing Panther of the season.
Hey, he's only saying that because he loves you, not because he hates you. He
Absolutely.
just wants you to get better.
It's like a disappointed parent, you know. You got a B+, but I knew you could have got an A if you try a little harder.
And hopefully next year we'll get that A. I think if we do, a lot of people are going to be wrong.
Yep.
But we'll see. For me, my most disappointing player of the season, this one was tough because there was, I hate to say this, but there was a couple guys that were, disappointing. But I think a big choice for me was Robbie Anderson. Coming last season, Robbie looked like a bottom tier 1, really good number 2. And I was like, I'm excited about this.
1,000-yard season last year.
Yeah. And I was ecstatic. The first game of the year, he got that long pass against the Jets. I was hyped. After that, nothing seemed to go well. We had a couple times where he was, I think it was the Eagles game or the Vikings game where he dropped so many passes. It was unreal, like 7 or 8 drops. I get it. It's one game. But then he's going out. He's talking about the fans. He's saying this. He's frustrated. I get it. But I could see Robbie being a guy that might get unexpectedly traded during the offseason. I think that he's a good player, and I think he's a lot better than what he put on the field this year. I think a lot of it was just frustration. But, if you're an NFL-type player, you got to be able to overcome that and to stay the course and to not let that affect you to the best of your ability. And I was disappointed this year by Robbie. I really was.
Yeah, very fair pick. I think a lot of Panthers fans were – very disappointed with Robbie Anderson. And I almost went with Sam Darnold on there, by the way. But then it was like, we always knew he sucked, so how could he be disappointed?
I didn't expect a lot, but
that meme.
Our expectations were low, but holy fuck.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty much exactly how I felt about it.
Oh, man. Who would you say – I don't know if you have did you have the most improved player?
Oh yeah, my most improved. What didn't really show up to the end of the year because injuries a factor. And plus, as we all know, Matt Rule's an idiot. Yetur Gross-Matos. I thought the last few games of the year he stepped up big, and I think he showed he has a real future as a solid player for us. He showed up in the run game and in the pass game, which I thought, this season was a huge issue for us. We've already talked about it here a couple times with our big name pass rushers kind of disappearing in the run game. And I felt like at the end of the year when he was getting, a good amount of snaps and put in there, I thought he made the most of that opportunity, and he consistently made plays, in those opportunities in the run game and the pass game. So Yetur Gross-Matos for the most improved.
I love that pick, and you know why? It's because I said the same thing. Gross-Matos, my most improved player. I think he was a guy when we drafted him, a little bit of a project, but I'm okay with that. He's a guy that's really going to help in terms of, bull rushing and being really good at run defense. And that's
such a strong player.
Really So I think that's something that, he might end up being a starter next year, developing into that kind of player. Defensive end is a position that sometimes can take a little bit for guys to fill in and get ready. And I think it's, one of the few bright spots on the team where he's taken took him a little bit, but he's getting there. I think next season he could be a starter. Any defensive end that is good in rush support, I'm 100% down for. So shout out to Gross-Matos. I thought he had a very solid year. Hopefully next year he'll be even better.
What I love about Gross-Matos is in the sense that Brian Burns is always trying to go around people. Gross-Matos is going to put his feet in the ground and say, this is my dirt. Don't come over here. You know what I mean? He's not going to let you move him. That's his spot, and he's going to move you.
Yeah. I like it. He's big. He's physical. I think he's tall as hell. He's big. I mean, I think he's a guy that's only going to get improved as his career goes on. Hopefully the Panthers don't mess it up. Maybe he can turn into a Mike Rucker type player. I could get down with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Game of the year. There wasn't many good ones.
I was going to say, I feel like we have to have the same answer here.
We have to.
The comeback, right?
The comeback was the best game of the year. Obviously, because Cam Newton came back, and that's all anyone cared about. And the Cardinals, they had their backup quarterback. We smoked them. The Panthers were on cloud nine. We thought we might be making a little playoff run, but it is what it is.
Yeah. The energy from the team was unmatched that day. We didn't see anything like it all season.
We did not.
I think if we won – sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're good.
I think if we won that next game against the football team, I don't know. I think we might have been able to do something. You were there, and I was supposed to be there, and then I got the vid.
Play of the year.
Play of the year. I had mine loaded up actually, because I wanted to show you. Backed up against his own goal line, superstar Panthers quarterback Sam Darnold delivers an absolute bomb. What a dime to Ian Thomas.
That's what I'm talking about.
Who said they don't want Ian Thomas back next year? What a throw. What a throw. What a catch.
I love it. I love it.
That's my pick for play of the year for the reason that when you're sitting there watching that game, you don't think there's any way in a million years Sam Darnold's about to deliver on 4th and 10 from his own 2-yard line. And then he just drops an absolute dime. And that was the one. That one really stuck with me. That was fun to watch. That comeback was incredible. It sucks we blew it in overtime, but that comeback was incredible. And looking back at some of those early games, it makes you wonder if maybe there is hope for Sam Darnold. But
I feel like the obvious choice is obviously Cam Newton running the ball in against the Cardinals.
Right.
I feel like that's too easy. So what I'm going to do is I don't remember the exact statistics, the exact play, but the next week against whenever we played the the Washington Renegades, whatever they're going to be called now. When Cam Newton scored, I can't remember which inning it was in, but he ran the ball in, scored a touchdown. Just being in that stadium, that atmosphere, just seeing that, what I used to watch as a kid, and just seeing it happen in front of my eyes, one more good time. It just, it was crazy. Just, I had his jersey on, and just being able to do this one more time while he was there, I was there. It was awesome. And so we lost the game, but I didn't care. That was a great moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I was trying to find it, but whatever. Everyone knows what you're talking about.
We all know what's going on.
Spiking the ball at the 50-yard line.
That was sick. That was so sick. People were like, how dare he do that? I was like, dude, shut up. Literally get out of the stadium.
Yeah. Well, I told you about the game I went to where the guy sitting next to me, I'm pretty sure the only reason he was there was to find somebody who didn't like Cam Newton as much as him. He wasn't even a fan of either team. He was just there wearing a Steelers jersey, waiting for Cam Newton to mess up so he could find somebody who hates him as much as he did.
I had an older guy I work with. I was talking to somebody else about the Panthers. I was just making a funny joke about how bad we were. And then I said, yeah, Cam Newton, unfortunately, it didn't work out. He goes, yeah, it doesn't. The older guy goes, boy, that was a waste of $10 million, wasn't it? I was like, what else are we going to spend that $10 million? Give me one thing. Give me one thing. I was like, no, you're just a guy that just loves to hate Cam Newton.
And he's like, you could have brought in Ryan Fitzpatrick.
You could have brought in Sam Darnold. At least he can throw the ball, or some dumb shit like that.
You could have brought back Jimmy Clausen.
Yeah, the great Jimmy Clausen cameo. We have to talk about it. Jimmy Clausen is on the Matt Rule bandwagon. I saw that the other day. I almost lost my mind. I couldn't believe it was real.
Well, I'm guessing because it came from one of those like services where you like pay someone to like say happy birthday or whatever.
Yeah, cameo.
Yeah, so I'm guessing he, somebody paid him to support Matt Rule or something. I don't know. I don't know how that happened, but it was pretty weird whenever I saw
Jimmy Clausen is just trying to get hired on as the quarterback coach. That's it.
At this point, we might as well.
Okay.
Jimmy Clausen, quarterback coach, Scotty Montgomery, the offensive coordinator, Matt Rule's son, head assistant.
Matt Rule's wife is in charge of the draft. She's picking all the players.
Right. She's director of, college scouting. It's actually kind of sad, but at the same time, I'm bitter enough that I don't really care that, Matt Rule's like, I can't take my son out because we get booed everywhere we go. I'm like, that is pretty harsh, but at the same time, people don't want you here. So, you can stay here. You can stay here. You just got to get a new job. You just you can be a bus driver or something.
That is a tough reality. Imagine being the coach in your own town, getting paid all the money. I like to go to McDonald's. Boo.
That's hard. It's pretty tough.
Yeah, I can't lie, man. That is tough. But it's funny because a couple months ago, I was randomly on, like, Jimmy Clausen popped into my head because I was thinking about the Panthers. So I went on. I was like, what's he been up to? So I went on Instagram, and I saw his page. But he hasn't posted in, like, years. So I was like, oh, he just being a normal guy. He had a link in there for Cameo, which is like if you you pay him, he'll do like a video.
Oh yeah.
And then I see that come up. I was like, holy shit, I could have did that months ago.
That could have been. You could add your fingerprints all over that one.
We could have asked him what he thought about the Primetime Carolina.
Dude, that's what we should do. We should get him. We should get him to do an intro for Primetime Carolina.
We should get this man on the show and be like, look, we're here to talk about all your cameos.
Dude, that's a good idea. Let's get Jimmy.
Dude,
I wonder how much a Jimmy Clausen cameo costs.
I'm like that Patrick Star meme. I got $3.
I'm telling you. Yo, he probably gets enough of them from like Notre Dame fans that it's like almost like a job. Because like he was pretty big at Notre Dame. Like I gotta think like there's got to be enough Notre Dame fans that are like, pay. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how much that would cost. It can't be a lot. I mean, it's Jimmy Clausen.
But next week we'll come with the results. We'll look it up, see how much it is.
Yeah, we'll find out.
I say we get different cameos from all kind of former Panthers players.
Yeah, but only like the Jimmy Clausen, Dwayne Jarrett's of the world.
Yes.
Maybe we can get them to team up.
We should.
That'd be fun.
That would be good. So that is our episode for tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed it. A little bit different than normal. Next week we're going to be coming to you. We'll talk a little bit of playoffs. Hopefully we'll have a new offensive coordinator, maybe some new firings, maybe some free agent stuff. Maybe we know where some guys, where they might be headed. And then we'll come to you with the price of a Jimmy Clausen cameo.
Which I know will be the burning question.
Yes, it's the burning question. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in to Primetime Carolina. Shout out to people mentioning us on the Carolina Huddle. We're doing a big, baby. Shout out to that guy that commented on a YouTube video last week. That's my guy.
Hey, my man, comment on. Hey, I think we got another one too, dude. We're like crazy popular right now. There's like 2 comments, dude. So we might have to get in touch with these people.
Hey, if you want to come on here, and I mean, we're supposed to be on that show with those Eagles fans. It fell through, but I mean, we're gonna go off.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna have a lot of free time here on this podcast pretty soon. With the off season and no reasons to be optimistic, so we might have to get some people up in here to conversate with us about the Panthers. See if
we will. We've got exactly. We've got that, and then we've got some cool off-season things. Things are only going to go up, and you know what? Shout out to us. Actually, I want to say this real quick. We made it a whole season. We didn't stop. We didn't quit. There might have been a game or two here and there. We're a little bit late because of some stuff that was going on, but we reviewed pretty much every game. And we went over it, and we were
going up until our last episode there. We had gone from we started in April. This is our first season doing this. We started in April. We put at least something out every week.
Yeah, we did.
Up until about last week. So we were nice and consistent. We've been doing this.
Been doing it. We've we're like Matt Rule. We're consistent. You might not see the results, but it's happening in front of you.
The process is 1,000. Yeah. So what we were gonna do was we're a team. It's a team, and we're using the process. It's working 1,000%.
The face you make when Sam Darnold's your quarterback next year. It's just like this man, like
what Sam does is when he passes the ball, and sometimes when it completes it, that's when someone catches it, it's called a completion, and that's what we want.
His hair looks like my hair right now, like just it's always messed up, and he just looks like scruffed all the time, and just Matt Rule looks like a guy that has no idea what the hell is going on ever.
The dude hasn't slept in like 2 months.
I swear to God, yeah.
I'm telling you, when he closes his eyes, he hears those chants from the Hornets games. He's like closes his eyes, and it's like fire Matt Rule, and then he's like, I just wanted to buy my son a popcorn, but I can't stand in line at the Hornets game.
Do better.
I mean, it's hard for me to feel bad for you with your like $62 million contract or whatever. No,
look at all this money.
You took a high stakes job. Worst thing that happens is you just hang out and get fired for a while, or you hang out for a while and get fired, and then you take all your money and you and your son move somewhere where no one knows who you are.
It's totally feasible, totally doable. So I don't see the problem.
Yeah.
But
all right.
Shout out to the Hornets. They beat the Bucks like 3 games in a row. Hornets are rolling right now, dude. I mean, I'm not saying we're going to win the NBA title, but, I mean, if we can make the playoffs, I'm hyped.
The Hornets are the most watchable, the best team they've been since probably the 90s.
Yeah, I would say that. They were better than that Bobcats team that made the playoffs a couple years ago. Like, I didn't care about that team, really.
Yeah. Kimball Walker made the playoff. I think he only made the playoffs 1 year.
Yeah, it was him. That year, that was him and Al Jefferson.
Al Jefferson.
Yeah, he was our center. We signed
God,
him.
was
from
it that
the,
long
from
ago that
Jazz.
they made the playoffs? I thought they made it
Was it-
1 year where it was just Kimba.
Nah, it was like 2016 whenever they made it. I think.
God,
I could be
yeah,
wrong.
I mean, I guess that makes sense, but I just can't believe it's
That's
been
when
that
they
long.
had like God, they had him, they had a couple different guys. It's been a couple. I think it was like 2016.
Was
They had a
Jeremy
couple
Lamb on the
different
team then?
guys. Jeremy Lamb was on the team, yeah.
Huh. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well,
But
anyway, they're the best they've been since like the Muggsy Bogues days, so that's pretty exciting.
I'm lit. I'm hyped. So shout out to the Hornets. Keep rocking. Keep buzzing. And the
I was going to
Panthers.
say that.
And the Panthers just keep doing what you're doing, I guess.
Yeah. I guess we could just get on here and talk about the Hornets every week.
We could talk about the Hornets and the Hurricanes. Both.
And the USFL starts in April.
That's true. That's very true. Also stay tuned for your Charlotte FC MLS reviews.
Dude. I cannot name one position on a soccer field except the goalie.
I think there's like
a striker. I hear that word a lot.
Forward, striker, like center field. I don't know, man.
I don't know.
It is what it is.
I thought they just called everyone the kicker.
They should put Zane Gonzalez on the team. I bet he'd tear it up.
Dude, that would be sick. If he had like a double Charlotte contract and he was just like, he would just be out there to be like the MVP because no one else in the stadium is going to know who anybody is.
Like, imagine if you were a double sport athlete, MLS Player of the Year, Kicker of the Year.
Dude, they'd have to build a Zane Gonzalez statue right next to the Sam Mills statue.
You know what? I get a new jersey every year. Zane Gonzalez, he might be my new jersey next year.
Yeah, got to get him on that contract. You know, fun story. I went to the Pro Bowl. I don't know what year. I guess it must have been like 2018. Whenever, I don't know, Graham Gano was there. But we went to practice the day before the Pro Bowl. And Graham Gano came out with a bag full of Panthers shirts looking for Panthers fans. And he gave them out to all the Panthers fans that were in the crowd. The handful of us.
All 6 of you.
You know, and Trey Turner and Thomas Davis did not come say hi. So shout out to Graham Gano for coming to say hi to the Panthers fans.
The GOAT.
Yep. He gave me a shirt. I have a shirt from Graham Gano.
Hey, it's a classic, man.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. At this point, it's like worn out, but that's because I couldn't stop wearing it because Graham Gano gave it to me.
All right.
Yep.
That'll work. I love it. Stay tuned. We'll see you next week. As always, no matter how hard it gets, keep pounding, keep buzzing, keep hurricaning, whatever their thing is. Let's get it, baby.
Keep blowing.
Yep, that works too.
I don't know. Hurricanes are windy, right? So
yeah,
I don't know.
Keep winning. That's what they're doing. They're doing a lot of winning. Keep winning.
True that. All right. Charlotte sports are up. Peace out. Or I guess Raleigh. Carolina sports are up. Peace out.
Deuces.